Well, it's official, y'all. Spring has sprung. The sangria and sauv blanc are flowing here at the Raddad Cooks residence, just like freshly melted snowpack into the American River. Today, we're gonna be making some summer classic salads. Salads from one of my all-time favorite restaurants, and selfish tragedy of the pandemic is sweet tomatoes. Last summer was real hard, and the fall and winter as well, dealing with the pandemic. We've all had our losses, and of course, nothing can compare to the loss of a loved one, but a particular loss for me, and I'm sure millions across this great land, is the loss of sweet tomatoes, AKA Soup Plantation, the all-you-could-eat salad bar. It was amazing. I remember it from my childhood, some of my most fondest memories with friends, after school, summer days, my parents, skipping school, taking me to lunch. And then again, as an adult, they seem to be in every town I've ever been in. Even coming out here west, there was 3 in the Bay Area. And fortunately, we hit one up only weeks before Jet was born, and they closed forever. But I've scoured the internet, looked at about 50 different recipes and blogs, did a little experimentation, and came out with recipes for my 3 favorite of all time sweet tomato salads. I got perfect clones here. And my personal 3 favorites, perhaps they might be yours too, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if I've missed any of them. I will work to get your salads out for you. But personally on my list, I got number 1, the Joan's Broccoli Madness. It's a coleslaw type dressing with some bacon bits, some cashew nuts, a little bit of raisins on some fresh broccoli florets. Number 2 has gotta be the Tuna Tarragon. This stuff is amazing. I can't wait to share this recipe with you guys. It tastes just like it. And number 3, it was the greeter. It was practically the host, hostess, host, X, whatever you want to call it, because it was the first thing on the bar, and that was the chicken Wonton Happiness. Come on guys, into the kitchen. I'm gonna show you how to whip these up so that way you can bring them to all your 2021 spring flings.
Cooking, not cleaning, we smoking and seasoning, grilling, sauteing, and chilling is the reason. Raddad Cooks, y'all.
All right, our first salad we're gonna be whipping up today on this sweet tomatoes triathlon is the Joan's Broccoli Madness. This particular salad, I think, might be my favorite, but it's still so hard to tell with all 3 of these being so amazing. But I do remember going to Sweet Tomatoes, and when I make my little salad, broccoli is my personal favorite vegetable. I stopped putting regular broccoli on my salad, and I started putting the Joan's broccoli on top of the salad. And then I ended up just getting all fat boy and getting
all whole freaking playful of it, but whatever.
The broccoli has super high levels of vitamin C in it, which of course is very, very good for recovery of all the systems in your body. And then it does have a lot of mayo, but mayo has a lot of omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids, and it's got a lot of vitamin E, which can prevent strokes, and a whole bunch of other health benefits. So don't overlook mayo. Just make sure you're purchasing a quality mayo. Really, mayo is just oil, vinegar, and eggs. So get a mayo that uses quality eggs and a quality oil, and you'll be in the clear. So the first thing we're gonna do to get this Joan's Broccoli Madness started is we're gonna whip up the dressing. That way all these ingredients can kind of meld, sugar can dissolve while we're preparing the rest of the ingredients. And that's gonna be easier to coat all of our broccoli if we have our dressing in the bottom of the bowl. First things first, a cup of mayo. Now mayo can be kind of difficult to measure, especially if you're using just like a measuring cup, so I prefer to use a scale. So it's really nice if you're making a recipe and you got a big old bowl, just set your bowl on there, tar out your scale, which is pretty much means zero it out, and start adding your mayo. 208 grams is 1 cup of mayonnaise. Next, for a little bit of a bite, we have our vinegar. We're using an apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons. Just a tad, a little bit more oil. We're gonna do vegetable oil for that. Any kind of neutral oil will work for this. And then last, for a little bit of sweetness, sugar. Now this is a 1/4 cup of white granulated sugar. The easiest way to mix this up is gonna be a whisk. That way we can get everything incorporated nicely. Go ahead and just whip it till it is all combined. Once we have our dressing combined, we can set it aside and we'll prepare our produce. The only real produce and cutting up we have to do is a 1/4 cup of red onion, which is really just a little nip off a medium-sized red onion. And then about 2 pounds of broccoli florets. You buy them at the grocery store like this. One's about this size. It's about 5 of them, 5 bunches this big will get you the 2 pounds you need. Now for the broccoli, I went ahead and washed it ahead of time. The easiest way to wash broccoli is to submerge it inside a bowl of water. That way you can get in all the little florets of the head and make sure you get any kind of garbage that might have got on them during shipping, or residual chemicals if you didn't buy organic off that before you consume it. Just a little teeny bit like this will get us the 1/4 cup we need. Don't want to overdo it on the red onion. It's more of like an accent, and red onion is very powerful, so let's not let it take over that broccoli. I always like to remove that first layer, the outer layer. It's kind of thick and weird. You don't want to chomp down on that. So we want like a small, medium dice on this red onion. I'm just gonna run the knife through it one more time to get rid of any large sections. This doesn't have to be too precise. This is something you bring to a picnic. All right, we'll go ahead and add our red onions to our bowl. Now we're gonna start breaking down our broccoli. This is really up to you, as big or as small as you'd like it. I kind of like the broccoli florets on the bigger side. Let's take that knife and just cut it kind of right where all of the florets come together into one. Whack it right there. You got some easy florets. Just like this. And they will just come apart. Now that we got all of our broccoli florets broken up, the last thing we have to do is to toss in our little goodies, mix it all up to combine that dressing on there, and then let it sit in the fridge for at least 2 hours. If you got time to go overnight, it's gonna be amazing. That vinegar is gonna kind of break down the broccoli a little bit and flavor those broccoli florets thoroughly. For goodies, we're using some cashews. We got a 1/4 cup. If you know the cashew game, man, you know that those whole cashews are expensive. The little bits and pieces are kind of better for this recipe anyways, so save yourself the money and just go ahead and get those. So you'll get a little bit more kind of random pieces in there. 1/4 cup of cashews in the bowl. Next, we're gonna do a 1/4 cup of raisins. Last is gonna be a 1/4 cup of bacon bits. This was about 4 strips of Smithfield thick cut bacon to get that 1/4 cup of bacon bits. Now we're gonna go ahead and stir our bowl to combine our dressing and our broccoli. Now that we got everything combined thoroughly, we're gonna put it in a suitable container and store it for about 2 hours before the party. Like I said, if you got more time, the more time you let this stuff sit, the more flavor it will have. As you can see, this recipe makes about 3 quarts of this amazing broccoli madness salad. Now, it might not look like there's a lot of dressing when you first put it together, But trust me, that vinegar is gonna start pulling moisture away from that broccoli, and it's gonna create an amazingly flavorful dressing. Next up, in our sweet tomatoes, Raddad Cooks favorite salad mashup, we got our Tuna Tarragon. Really kind of complex flavors going on here. It has some pasta, a mix of small shells, penne, and these lovely green spinach fettuccinis. For the dressing, it's kind of mayo-based, a little mayo, a little sour cream, and it's flavored with some diced sweet pickles and some of that pickle juice. And the star of the show is tarragon. And the variety that we use to cook with is the French version, which is the Artissima Dracunculus sativa. Sativa, of course, meaning cultivated for medicinal purposes. So got a little bit of meds in this salad. Also, it's gonna have about a half a cup of diced celery. I went ahead and took my celery hearts, chopped them down to just the useful pieces, and rinsed them off. I split my ribs into 3 pieces, and then I put them all together and cut them at once for a nice, easy, medium dice. Whenever you're using a knife, keep your fingers curled up like this so they're behind the blade. That way you don't cut them. If anything, you'll nick your knuckle. Believe it or not, some of the worst times I've ever cut myself have been cutting celery, which is kind of silly, but. All right, we got about a half a cup of celery, if not more there. We'll move on to making that dressing. For our dressing, we're going 3/4 cup of mayonnaise, 1/4 cup of sour cream. I measured this out by weight, just like I did with the Joan's Broccoli Madness. We're also gonna put in 3/4 of a cup of diced sweet pickles. I purchased the slices just because it was a little bit easier to dice them. I haven't really done any experiments to see which one you would get the most juice out of, the spears or the dices, because we are gonna need some pickle juice for this recipe. We need 1 cup of sweet pickle juice. We're gonna get that by just pouring our jar of pickles over through a strainer. And we got a cup with plenty more to go. I'd say you might get 2 cups out of this. I'm gonna eat one of these right now, man, because I love these bread and butter pickles. Another thing that they always had on the salad buffet there at Sweet Tomatoes that I love just chewing through while I was online waiting to pay. Last, for some seasoning, we're gonna go 1/4 teaspoon of ground white pepper and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I always like to go a little light on the salt and pepper because that way you can just douse it on the table. Last but not least, we can't forget our star of the show, tarragon. We're gonna go 1 whole teaspoon of this. And make sure your tarragon's fresh, okay? Because this stuff it'll lose its potency after time. So to get maximum flavor, go ahead and throw 1 teaspoon of the freshest tarragon that you can source. Now that we have our dressing combined, we'll go ahead and add our 1/2 cup of diced celery into the bowl. And we'll add our tuna into the bowl. This is 12 ounces drained weight of chunk light tuna. This is about double what they put in at Sweet Tomatoes. And I feel like they always did kind of jip it on the tuna. And I do remember, as a kid watching the tuna levels decrease from the 90s into the 2000s. Let me know down in the comments below if you saw this phenomena too at the Soup Plantation or Sweet Tomatoes in your town. The last and final ingredient to this amazing salad is the pasta. Now, like I said earlier, it's a blend of 3 different pastas We have spinach fettuccine, which can be tricky to find in your store. Normally look around where the more bougie type brands of pasta are, and that's where you're gonna find it. You also want it to be in short little 3 to 4 inch pieces, and the particular bougie brand I found already had it small like this. If you're able to get it in big long pieces, just cut it up before you cook it. We're doing 1 cup of the spinach fettuccine, 2.5 cups of small shells, and 3/4 cup of penne. Now when you cook these, make sure you get them al dente or just a little bit past that. Don't make them too hard, don't make them too soft. And remember that all of these pastas most likely are gonna have a different cook time. So you're either gonna have to do a little bit of math or boil them in separate water to get it done right. I gotta get a little taste of this right off the big spoon. That is dank. Now with this particular salad, it's gonna take a good 8 hours for the minimum amount of flavoring. I highly suggest you let this one sit overnight so that dried tarragon can rehydrate and really just like knock your buds down when you and whoever's over at your house give this stuff a try. I cannot wait until tomorrow to eat a lot of this. And you can see that this makes about 2 quarts or 8 cups. So feel free to make it less if it's just a single serving, but I don't think it's worth the effort unless you're making at least 2 quarts. That way you can go sit in front of the TV somewhere and binge eat this stuff. And think about the good old days at Sweet Tomatoes. Alrighty, time now for our 3rd and final salad. And this here Sweet Tomatoes salad mashup is our Wonton Chicken Happiness. If you've ever been to Sweet Tomatoes, I don't know how you would have ever missed this salad because it was the first one that greeted you at the door, right next to the trays. Next to that was a fairly bland Caesar salad and then some sort of rotating salad. But I am sure if you've been to Sweet Tomatoes, you've had this. And if you never made it to Sweet Tomatoes, I'm gonna pray for you and just make some of this and I think you'll be fine. First thing to make is the dressing. Raddad Cooks, man, he don't play around. He likes using the mason jars. You put all your ingredients, shake it like a martini. You'll get a beautiful emulsification every time. For our salad dressing, we have 1/4 cup of rice wine vinegar, 2 tablespoons of a neutral oil. I'm using vegetable oil. You could use avocado oil, really whatever you want. For that Asian persuasion, we're going with 1/4 cup of hoisin sauce. And then for some seasoning, we're gonna put in 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, 1 teaspoon of fresh ground ginger. I don't have the patience to grind up fresh ginger. I buy the squeeze stuff from Costco. And last, for a little bit of salt, we're gonna add some soy sauce. All the recipes I've been looking at online, they all use about a tablespoon of soy sauce. I like to go a little light on the salt, so I'm doing 1 teaspoon. If you like it extra salty, by all means, throw a whole bunch of soy sauce in there. Put the lid on the jar, give it a little shake. Take off the lid and we'll give this thing a taste. That is it 100%. The hoisin sauce is what does it. It's what gives it that dark color and the complexity of all the different things that are inside hoisin sauce. Now we just gotta cut up our vegetables, prepare our chicken, and toss it all together. For our vegetables, it's pretty basic stuff. We're gonna do 3 cups of shredded cabbage. I didn't buy cabbage and shredded, I just bought some of that pre-made coleslaw mix that's over in the produce section. And then 1 cup of shredded carrots. Once again, I didn't shred them, I just bought the matchstick carrots. We'll go ahead and add those to our bowl. Also some romaine hearts. We're gonna cut up into bite-sized pieces 4 cups of romaine hearts. And then we're gonna dice up 2 green onions or scallions, whatever you call them. Well, you can see it took about 1.5 of our romaine hearts to get the 4 cups we need for this recipe. An optional ingredient you can leave out if you want to make it vegetarian, or add if you want to make it a meal or something a little bit more protein rich, is some chicken. I got 2 very big chicken breasts that I steamed off ahead of time on my electric pressure cooker for 20 minutes in 2 cups of water. After 20 minutes, I let it cool down for about another 5, and then I pulled it apart with some tongs and a fork to have some nice, healthy white meat chicken breast shreds in here. A lot like the Tuna Tarragon. I do remember, man, like summer 95, chicken everywhere. Summer 08, I don't even know why they called it Wonton Chicken Happiness anymore, because there wasn't it. The final ingredients to add to this kick-ass salad before we dress it is gonna be a little bit of texture. We're gonna do a little bit of sliced almonds. This wasn't always in the sweet tomatoes one, but I kind of like to add the crunch. And then also some of these wonton strips. Now this is something that, again, is up to you. You could go animal and toss this whole bag in there, or just put them in there sparingly. I kind of like them sparingly. Final thing we're gonna add for some texture is gonna be some toasted sesame seeds. For the most part, when you buy sesame seeds, they're not gonna be toasted. You can buy them toasted, but they don't have that fresh taste as untoasted ones do when you toast them right before you eat them. So if you've never toasted them before, we're gonna do it right now. In a dry pan over medium heat, we're gonna add a tablespoon of our sesame seeds. Sesame seeds can kind of get expensive too. If you go to like the spice aisle, they could be like $5-6 for a small amount. Go down like the Spanish aisle or in your produce section or one of your little end caps at your grocery store, you'll find this brand Badia. And man, they got the spices on the low. This was like 98 cents. We've got about a tablespoon in there. I'm just gonna move them around. So that way they lay out nice and flat. They're not all on top of each other. They're all laying there flat in the dry saute pan over medium heat. We're gonna give them about a minute or so for the pan to heat up and to begin to toast them. And then we're just gonna start tossing them until they reach the color that we like, which is kind of a medium to medium dark brown. I'm gonna show this in real time too, so that way if you've never done this before, you can see how this is done. And you can hear them starting to pop there. They're already starting to get brown. The real trick here is getting them to toast evenly so you don't have any burnt ones or any that aren't toasted at all. Once that pan starts to get hot, you just want to keep them moving. That pan has more than enough residual heat to keep these things toasting. Put the pan down for a second, let it get a little bit more heat, and pick it up and work it. These things are just about where we want them to be. All right, go ahead and shake these into our salad. Now I know you're gonna wanna taste these, but these things get mad hot in the pan, so if you're making them ahead of time, just let them cool off before you go diving into them. Now that our salad is all built up, the only thing we have left to do is to dress it with our amazing sesame ginger dressing. Let's go ahead and just drizzle a little in there. With our tongs closed, for lack of better terms, we'll start tossing that salad. Add a little bit more dressing. All right, we got all of our dressing tossed onto the salad. And now I just gotta go ahead and give this a try. The amount of dressing was the perfect amount for this salad. You never wanna overdress a salad. Look at all soppy and disgusting, and the texture just won't be right. That's, probably one of the highlights of a salad is that awesome combination of the different textures we have going on here. That is the Wonton Happiness right there. I would say, if you are salt fans, make sure you add that little extra soy sauce in there, but I'm happy with this right here as it is. The extra chicken is just like killer mega bonus on top of the flavors going on here. Unlike the other two salads, this salad is one that you're gonna wanna add the dressing to right before you serve it. The other ones are kind of like wine. They're gonna get better with time as they age. So definitely, if you're gonna bring this one to a party, get all your vegetables and stuff cut up, maybe put them in like a Ziploc bag or something, shake you up that mason jar of the dressing, bring the two separate, and then combine them together. Also, don't forget those wontons and those sesames. Add those last two. The little crunches in that sesame just add a dynamic to the salad that is truly unique. Thank you so much for coming by, guys, spending some of that precious stuff with us. I mean time. Y'all could be anywhere on YouTube right now, and you're hanging out with old Raddad Cooks, whipping up these nostalgic sweet tomato salads. If you like what you see, please hit like and subscribe. I'm trying to build my fan base here, so that way we can take this puppy worldwide. Also, let me know down in the comments if you've made these, what you think, what you've tweaked, and what you'd like to see. Raddad Cooks, signing out, y'all. Peace. Thank you for tuning in, and if you love the content of this video, hit like on the way out. If you're new, become part of the Raddad Cooks ecosystem by subscribing and dinging that notification bell.